You've probably watched all the tutorials. You've probably read all the books. You've probably joined all the free webinars you can get your hands on. You've taken notes, you've read the ebooks, you studied the gurus. But still, nothing's changed. You know exactly what you need to do, but you haven't done it. Why is that? Here's the truth. You don't need more information to make money online. You need implementation, which is what most people will never do. And the reason I know this is I've been making money online for the last 2-3 years, and I went from 0 to 40K a month in high ticket sales in under a year. And then I actually went on to teach dozens and dozens of students who were exactly in your position. They knew all the right things, the scripts, the videos, the funnels, the offers, but they still made $0, not a dime. And I've seen this pattern over and over again. The ones who win in this space aren't the ones who know the most, every single time. It's always the ones who do the most. So in this video, I'll break down the 5 real reasons on what I believe, why information isn't the answer, and what actually leads to online income. Sweet. So let's dive in. Now, the first thing you have to understand is the more you learn without applying, the more broke you'll stay. This is how it works. Learning feels productive. It feels good. Like, you ever read that book or you ever watched this podcast that was super motivating and your brain gets a lot of dopamine and you feel good about it? That's the feeling I'm talking about. Picture that. You're watching tutorials, you're taking notes, you're planning your next move, you're writing down your goals, you're putting up a whole vision board. It basically tricks your brain into believing that you're actually making progress. But until you do, you haven't learned anything. Your life hasn't changed. And you can't think your way into success. You have to act your way there. And if I'm being completely transparent, this was me. Fast track, 2-3 years ago, this is exactly who I was. I used to watch so many videos and free courses, free webinars on how to make money online, trading, Bitcoin, sports betting, e-com, affiliate marketing. Like, I've literally looked at everything. And I would look at all these business models. I'd write down my goals of 10K a month, 20K a month. I'd put my dream car on my wall, but nothing changed. My bank account stayed at 0. I was just doing the same thing over and over again. And honestly, it took a toll on my mental health, and pretty much it got really boring really quickly, and I started getting very demotivated. But as soon as I invested in a mentor, as soon as I actually decided to do something about it and actually take action and pick one thing and do it, which was high ticket sales for me, I pretty much went from 0 to 10K a month within 6 months. For context, I spent years researching before that, trying to figure out how to hit 10K a month. And don't quote me on this, but I think this is from like a Harvard study. People forget 90% of what they learn within a week if they don't apply it immediately. So stop collecting knowledge, stop collecting data from other people and action. Just do it, and you'll learn more in 1 week of doing something than 6 months of you watching videos. Sweet. Now, even if you start taking action, most people still get stuck because they're trying to figure it all out alone. I see it all the time. And basically, a mentor collapses time, but YouTube and videos and information, it stretches the time that it takes. When you're learning alone, it's like you're swimming in random information from 1,000 different sources, and it feels like freedom, but it's actually confusion. And what you have to understand is a mentor gives you direction, and it distills that information down for you to actually use it and take action on it. They filter the noise and they shorten the learning curve and give you context on what actually works because they've already done it themselves. And a good analogy to explain this is, imagine trying to climb Mount Everest, right? Trying to climb Mount Everest by watching drone footage of someone else climbing Mount Everest for you, compared to having a one-on-one guide climb the mountain with you who's already done it 100 times, who's already reached the top, walk you through it. Which one's going to get you there faster and more safely? The mentor, right? Having a guide. So one outcome gives you information, but the other one gives you direction. And I'm not the only one who agrees with this and has gone through this myself, the importance of having a mentor. I run a very small community called the DSA where I teach people how to get to where I am and make money online. And one of my students, Adrian, it's a very interesting story. Pretty much, me and Adrian started off in high ticket sales at the exact same time, July 2023. However, we went through varying parts. I decided to take a bet on myself and invest in a mentor before I even start. But Adrian didn't invest in a mentor at all. So I went from 0 to 40K a month in under a year, and Adrian stayed stuck at $0 or a couple grand a month, burning out from offer to offer for a year and a half. Until eventually he realized that obviously what he's doing is not working and that he needs to get some professional help. And he came to me because we stayed good friends throughout that year and a half and decided to invest in my mentorship. And literally within 3 months, 3 months, he went from 0 to 20K a month. And to prove this, you can go after this video, go check my channel, and you see Adrian's video on the channel where he talks about his experience and how he spent a year and a half wasting his time. So this isn't just coming from me. This is coming from students that I have personally taught. So the main takeaway here is you don't need more teachers. You don't need more YouTube videos. You don't need more podcasts. You need translators. You need people who failed and can tell you what actually matters and keep it real with you. But mentorship only helps if you're willing to do the next thing. And to be really honest, most people aren't. Because information is the most socially acceptable form of procrastination. Think about it. People say they're not ready yet or now's not the right time. But what they really mean is, I don't want to fail. I don't want to look like a loser. I don't want to be embarrassed. So they keep consuming content because it makes them feel safe. They can hide behind their screen and not have to worry about the consequences of actually giving something a go. But safety and comfort, it doesn't create results. And at the end of the day, that fear, you can't outlearn fear. You can't watch a bunch of videos to get rid of that fear. The only way to get rid of that fear is you have to outwork it, right? And a great way to explain this is imagine fighting. So any form of martial arts, boxing, MMA, it's a very scary feeling because when you step in the ring, you can potentially get knocked out. You could maybe even die. And no one wants to get punched in the face, right? But imagine if you try to learn boxing and all you do is you read books for the entire year on how to box, and you watch a bunch of Floyd Mayweather videos on how to actually box. Yeah, you will know every combination. You will know the punches, the kicks, you will know everything, but you've never stepped in the ring. So when you do step in the ring, that first real punch will expose what you never practiced, and you just get knocked out. You just get blown out the water by that person that instead of reading books, they just learned by getting punched in the face and learning for a year. So main takeaway here is, instead of procrastinating and just hiding behind safety and watching content, you don't need all that stuff. Go and fail, go and practice, go and put yourself in the deep end and just learn from your mistakes, and you'll get better 10x faster than the person that just reads books. And you don't really need to go far to see why this is true. Go look at older people in your life, within your family, within your friend group. And if you don't have anyone that's older in your life, go look online at YouTube videos of older people talking about their regrets in life. And if you ask nearly anyone, 70 to 80% of adults say that they didn't pursue their dreams, even though they knew what to do, even though they knew the strategy, they knew what their goals were, they didn't do it because they were scared. Because they had a fear of failure and they wanted to fall into that safety net, and they all chose security and decided to regret it later. Now, once you started to take action, that's great, but there's another trap that almost slows every single person down. And it's the fact of perfection. You don't need a perfect plan. You need the first move. Most people spend months overanalyzing every single detail. Their logo, the funnel, the product, the niche, the name, like all these random things that just don't really matter. And they think they're being strategic, but realistically, they're just avoiding the risk and they won't tell it to themselves. And perfection is the enemy of profit. You can't think your way to clarity. You get clarity from actually testing it. And a good relatable way to explain this is, again, I'm going to use the gym as an example because the gym, I believe, is very congruent with online business and self-development. Imagine going to your little siblings or a younger friend of yours who wants to get in the gym, and they ask you, hey, if you had to give me advice, what would you say to get jacked and have a healthy body? My advice would be, dude, just go to the gym, right? However, most people start asking questions like, how many sets do I do? Do I do 12.5 kilograms? Do I do 13.5 kilograms? Do I eat 5 grams of steak? Do I eat 50 grams of steak? Like, it doesn't matter, right? Like, if you're new to the gym, I would rather you spend 6 months just going and having horrendous form and eating a bad diet and actually lifting weight because you'll make gains than spend 6 months analyzing behind the laptop on what sets you're going to do. You're not going to make progress, right? So the biggest takeaway here is, if you're trying to learn something, if you're trying to do something meaningful and actually take action on something, speed beats perfection every single time. And finally, the fifth reason why people stay stuck is because they chase information instead of transformation. And I'll explain what I mean. Information changes what you know, but action actually changes who you are as a person, and who you are as a person is going to be directly reflective of how your business is running. Go ask any successful person, they'll tell you the same thing. And people love the dopamine hit of learning something new. Learning something new in school, learning a new sport, reading a new fact. Like, of course, it sounds interesting. It gives a dopamine hit to your brain. But they think that knowledge and that dopamine equals growth as a person. But quite frankly, it just doesn't. And true growth only happens when you become someone who actually executes it. And I'll share a story with you because I used to be that person who just looked at things and got the dopamine and didn't really do anything with it. The biggest transformation I've had in my businesses, from 0 to 10K a month, from 10 to 40K a month, from 40K a month into sales management, from sales management to launching my own business, all the transformations and the biggest turning points in my life has always happened by me changing as a person, by me executing, by me taking action. It's never been more knowledge. It's never been more information. Every single point in my life, right? It's been an identity change or something that I took action on. So the biggest takeaway here is stop chasing new information, start chasing transformation and who you become through consistent action. So let's tie it all together. You don't need that next fancy $50 course. You don't need that next YouTube video that you have saved on your playlist. You don't need to go watch that 4-hour podcast to motivate yourself on having the perfect morning routine. You don't need any of these things because the truth is the people that make money online aren't the ones who know the most. It's always the ones who apply the fastest. I've seen this in myself. I've seen this with all my friends in the industry, and I've seen this with all my students who have gone to make anywhere from 5, 10, up to 40K a month. And if you have any questions on that and you want to challenge me on any of the points that I made, honestly, feel free to hit me up. I'm going to drop my Instagram in the description below where you can ask me any questions about my journey and my beliefs and my values, and I'm more than happy to answer them. Other than that, I wish you all the best, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.